When a live TV interview suddenly turns tense, you can feel it instantly. That's what happened when Tom Holland appeared on The View, and an exchange with Sunny Hostin shifted the mood of the entire studio. Subscribe to The Truth Narrator, hit like, and share your thoughts below. Because this moment wasn't loud or chaotic. It was controlled and unmistakably real. Tom Holland had built his public image on humility and charm. Sunny Hostin, known for direct and carefully framed questions, had built hers on precision and accountability. The View has long been a space where conversations can turn unexpectedly serious, even during promotional interviews. The discussion began lightly. Holland smiled, spoke about his projects, and engaged comfortably with the panel. But as the conversation progressed, Hostin shifted toward a more pointed topic, touching on personal boundaries and public responsibility. Her tone remained calm, professional, but the direction of the interview changed. Then came the pause. Hostin asked a direct question that required more than a promotional answer. Holland stopped for a moment. On live television, even a few seconds of silence feel amplified. His smile faded slightly. He chose his words carefully, emphasizing privacy and the complexity of public narratives. Hostin followed up for clarity. That's when the shift became clear. Holland's tone stayed controlled but firmer. The warmth softened into restraint. He made it clear that some aspects of life remain personal, regardless of fame. There were no raised voices, no dramatic gestures, just tension carried through posture, eye contact, and carefully chosen words. The audience grew quiet. The other hosts remained still. Within less than a minute, the exchange had changed the energy of the room. Hostin transitioned to another topic, maintaining professionalism. Applause followed, but it felt measured. Afterward, viewers debated the moment. Some saw Holland's response as mature boundary setting. Others felt the questioning was fair within the show's format. What stood out most was that it happened live, unedited and unscripted. The moment mattered because it reflected a larger reality of modern celebrity, the constant negotiation between openness and privacy. On live television, that negotiation plays out in real time. And sometimes, the most powerful confrontations aren't explosive, they're controlled. If you appreciate serious breakdowns of live TV moments that reveal what really happens behind the smiles, subscribe to The Truth Narrator, like this video, comment your perspective, and share it with someone who remembers watching it unfold. Before that tense exchange ever happened, there was already quiet pressure surrounding the interview. Tom Holland wasn't just promoting a project. He was navigating a phase of his career where every interview carried more weight. As his fame expanded, so did public curiosity, not only about his work, but about his personal life and how he handled influence, privacy, and responsibility. Sunny Hostin is known for approaching celebrity interviews differently. She doesn't rely only on promotional talking points. Her background in law shapes how she frames questions, calm, direct, and layered. On The View, conversations often move from light to serious without warning. That morning, the energy felt normal at first. The audience applauded. The panel joked. Holland smiled comfortably. But as Hostin gradually shifted the tone toward deeper ground, the rhythm of the conversation slowed. You could sense a pivot coming. Holland's answers became more measured, his posture slightly straighter. Hostin leaned in, not aggressively, but intentionally. The stage was set for a question that would go beyond promotion. And then it happened. Hostin asked a direct question that touched on personal boundaries and public expectations. The studio fell noticeably quiet. Holland paused. It wasn't long, but on live television, silence stretches. His expression changed. The easy smile tightened. He responded carefully, explaining that while he respects public interest, certain areas of life remain private. Hostin followed up, seeking clarity. That's when the tension became visible. Holland's tone remained calm but firmer. He repeated his position with more emphasis, subtly drawing a line. There were no raised voices, no dramatic reactions, just a controlled snap in energy, the moment where patience turns into boundary setting. The other hosts stayed still. The audience held its breath. For a few seconds, it felt less like a promotional interview and more like a negotiation of limits, happening live, with no edits and no escape. Hostin maintained composure and transitioned to the next topic. Applause followed, but it sounded restrained. The moment lasted under a minute, but it changed everything about the tone of that interview. In the immediate seconds after that exchange, the studio felt different. The applause came, but it wasn't enthusiastic. It was polite, measured, the kind of applause that fills silence rather than celebrates a moment. Tom Holland leaned back slightly in his chair, his expression composed but no longer relaxed. The easy charm he had carried into the interview had shifted into something more guarded. Sunny Hostin maintained complete professionalism. Her posture stayed upright, her expression steady. Without escalating the tension, she smoothly redirected the conversation to a safer topic. The transition was clean, but the energy in the room had already changed. The other co-hosts adjusted quickly, adding lighter commentary, offering small smiles, attempting to restore balance. Holland responded respectfully, but his answers were shorter now, more controlled. The rhythm of the interview never fully returned to what it had been at the start. And that's what made the moment significant. There was no shouting, no visible argument, no dramatic walk-off, just a subtle but unmistakable boundary drawn in real time. On live television, with millions watching. Within hours, clips of the exchange began circulating online. Viewers replayed the pause, the tone shift, the firmness in Holland's voice. Some praised him for calmly protecting his privacy. Others defended the question as fair within the format of The View, where hosts are known for asking direct and sometimes uncomfortable questions. What stood out most wasn't conflict. It was clarity. Holland demonstrated that professionalism doesn't mean unlimited access. That even in promotional settings, there are lines. Hostin demonstrated that journalism, especially in live formats, sometimes requires pushing beyond rehearsed answers. The moment became less about tension and more about balance. How much does a public figure owe an audience? Where does transparency end and personal space begin? Live television doesn't allow time to craft perfect responses. It reveals instinct. For Holland, the exchange subtly marked a transition. He appeared in later interviews with the same politeness, but with clearer limits. Observers noticed a more deliberate approach when personal topics surfaced. Not defensive, just defined. For The View, it reinforced the show's long-standing identity. Conversations can pivot. Questions can challenge. And not every guest will respond the same way. That brief pause, the silence before Holland answered, remains the most powerful part of the moment. Because in that silence, you could see the calculation. The decision to respond firmly without losing composure. Sometimes, snapping doesn't look like anger. Sometimes it looks like restraint. And on live television, restraint can speak louder than any confrontation. If you value serious, cinematic breakdowns of live TV confrontations and the real stories behind headline moments, make sure you subscribe to The Truth Narrator. Turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Like this video if you appreciate professional, fact-based storytelling. Comment your perspective below. Was the question fair, or did Tom Holland draw the right boundary? And share this video with someone who remembers watching that moment live. This is The Truth Narrator, where we don't chase drama, we analyze it.